Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. And I wanted to do a lesson, all right, going into the events, all right, that will lead up to the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, all right, in a few of the events after, all right, as we're going to be beamed up into the chariot. Now, the scripture does let us know that we know in part and prophecy in part, all right, so there's only so much that we know, all right, as pursuing to certain situations, all right, but what we do know is that there will not be an assault, all right, on the biblical Israelites once they return to the Holy Land, all right, and we do know once Yahweh Shai returns, all right, that marks the end of all heathen rulerships on the earth, as things are going to be in disarray. Babylon's going to be destroyed, all right, there's going to be war taking place on the planet Earth. All of the nations on the planet Earth are going to band together during Armageddon to fight against the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, all right. And they're going to take a serious L, and the elites, as we're going to show you, all right, will scurry into the bunkers, okay, and they will be in those bunkers, all right, until we, the biblical Israelites, all right, come down from the chariots, all right, in new bodies to enslave them. Now, when you deal with, all right, Hassad, all right, and the deacon's argument, they're basically of the opinion, all right, on one hand, they're saying that, you know, Russia is going to rule. They're going to have a short rulership, you know, after the destruction of America, all right. And on another hand, they're basically saying that as Russia, all right, Gog, right, gathers these particular nations, all right, to come up against America, that entails their rulership, all right. And it's weird. I mean, it's sketchy. Pretty much they didn't know particular of the answers that they were being asked about the breakdown. It was kind of all over the place. But overall, all right, it's a way to separate themselves, as the scriptures say, all right, these be they that separate themselves, sensual, having not the spirit. Okay, and we know that him and Deacon left the Sakari camp, but overall, they're still carrying those tacky, okay, broke down breakdowns, all right, that, you know, they've learned to separate themselves from the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who they originally learned from. And we'll see who was right and who was wrong, but ultimately our goal is to bring out the edification so that you brothers and sisters can be edified, all right, and you window shoppers who go from this camp to that camp and this camp to that camp, who are all over the place and confused, all right, on one minute you're agreeing with us, and then the next minute we see you on their comment boards agreeing with them after we've showed you their stance on Paul, after we showed you that they're going off according to the scriptures, all right. When it's all said and done, all right, you're going to be led to destruction if you don't repent and get yourself rooted in what the Bible is talking about, because we're in some very, very serious times. And as we, you know, going into Jacob's trouble, these men are leading you, all right, with all of these gray areas and rebellions, all right, even against the Apostle Paul himself, who ultimately was ordained by Yahweh Shai to set up the ministry of grace, which each and every last one of us, all right, are under, and that's how we get back to the Father. Now, this is a video done by the elder Apostle Tahar. The video is titled The Correct Understanding, all right, on Ezekiel 38 and 8 on down. You could watch this video. He starts going into the breakdown around 15 minutes, all right, goes into some history. Before that, it's a good video, and you should watch it, all right. We may go into some of Ezekiel 38 in this lesson, but ultimately, as I'm going to start here in Revelation, the 6th chapter, okay, the bottom line is that pursuant to Daniel, the 7th chapter, all right, Russia will not have a rule. They will just be used by the Most High, okay, as tools to gather particular nations, all right, to shoot missiles on the land of Israel and America. You see, that's not a rulership, all right? And if you want to make the argument that that is a rulership, well, pursuant to Daniel's vision, the final ruler of all of the heathen nations will be the revival of Rome, which is the little horn, which is Babylon the Great, along with the beast system, all right, which is NATO and the EU. And again, Russia, okay, is gathering many of even those EU countries to rebel against Babylon the Great. You see, but upon Yahushua return, as we'll show you here in Revelation 16 or Revelation 6 and 14, it says, "And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places." Now this marks the destruction of Babylon the Great. This is when Yahushua returns. Okay, when Yahushua returns, he's going to return, all right, to all out Armageddon and nuclear war on the planet Earth. Now, leading up to this war, there will be events that take place pursuant to prophecy, all right, that will lead up to this point, all right, where there's this great destruction. So before we get into this great destruction, all right, let's deal with Russia's role and how this will all come about. Now, we know, according to the Holy Scriptures, okay, the least of the flock, see if we can pull that up. All right, the least of the flock will draw out these particular nations to war. Let's get it, least of the flock, right? As a matter of fact, that's in Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, all right, when ultimately what's going to happen is Jeremiah 50:9, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of nations from the north." The north is symbolizing Russia, all right? And there's many nations pursuant to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, that are going to gather themselves to Russia, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. All right, so looks like they're saying that this is Russia's rule. No, this is not a rulership. It's just that many nations are going to be gathered into Russia for the purpose of coming against Israel, in which that will lead America, all right, to come to its defense, and eventually world war breaks out, and all of these nations at that time are going to come up against Babylon, and it's going to be war with each other and so much. So Chaldea shall be a spoil, all right, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, all right, because they're going to ultimately wage war against her and fulfill prophecy. But at that same time, Yahushua is going to return, right? Now, then it goes into the reason the Lord is doing this, all right, because they destroyed his heritage. They destroyed the Israelites. This is all happening pursuant to Joel, the 3rd chapter, okay, because of everything that these nations did to the Israelites, all right, mainly the biblical Edomites. Now, as you go down in this chapter, okay, let's see here. It says this, all right, Jeremiah 50 and 45. "Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans," America, okay, which this chapter, okay, was a letter that Jeremiah wrote to the captives at Babylon, all right. But when you read Jeremiah 50 and 51, okay, it couldn't be talking about ancient Babylon. So this was actually written unto us who were captives in this spiritual Babylon. But this was to be read to the captives at Babylon as they were in that Neo-Babylonian captivity, you see. But when you read the insight of the letter, this is not how ancient the Neo-Babylonian Empire was taken down. So this letter was actually speaking of the very times that we're in now, and for a comfort for us here as we're captive in Babylon. But as you read here, it says, Jeremiah 50 and 45, Therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely shall the least of the flock draw them out. Surely shall he make their habitations desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, all right, the whole earth is moved, all right, and the cry is heard among the nations. See? So the whole earth is going to be shaken at the destruction of Babylon, and it's going to be chaotic. See, and the chariots will return at this time. Now, as it talks about in Revelation 11, as we'll get, is going to be a great earthquake. The least of the flock that's going to draw them out is speaking of the state of Israel. All right. And the Hebrew word is, all right, Tazayara, all right. It says little, insignificant, younger, all right. And the TWOT reference is 1948, which is in the spirit, because 1948 is when the state of Israel was established, all right, by the British, all right. The bankers established this. It was nothing but a forwarding of colonization. You see what I'm saying? May 14, 1948, all right. They're the least, in a sense, that ultimately of this beast system, all right. They're the youngest to be established. You see, the last to be established. Now, they're not a part of any of the seven heads, but we know out of British, which is the seventh head, came America. Also out of British, later on down the line, came these small hats, okay, who got a grip over the land of Israel along with other heathens. And there's nothing but constant war and friction there, as the scriptures tell you. All right, let's get it in the book of Luke 21. Okay, Luke, the 21st chapter. In 24, it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, speaking of 70 AD, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, actual heathen, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we're living, all right, in a time where their times are being fulfilled. This word times, the times of the Gentiles, kahiros, okay, the measure, okay, the measure of the Gentiles, the limited period of time, which ultimately we know that these devils would have a little season, all right, from the Renaissance period until now to do all of their mischievous wickedness. Okay. It says at a fixed and definite time, the time when he brings, when things are brought to a crisis. All right. The decisive epoch. All right. Waited for. Let's look up this word epoch. All right. So we can all learn together. I know it deals with like an ending, but let's see what it means. All right. So, to what time bring the things and events of time, end time prophecy. It says a period of time in history of a person's life, typically one marked by notable events or particular characteristics. All right. The end of Esau's world basically is what they're speaking to. So Jerusalem from 70 AD until, now the children of Israel, the Jews, were kicked out of the land and underwent, being scattered, underwent curses, different slavery and captivities up to this point. And the Holy Land itself will be trodden down of the Gentiles, in a sense that it's nothing but war going on there, nothing but evil practices until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay. So going back here, this great war that we read about that's going to take place, that's going to lead to the destruction of Babylon, the least of the flock are going to draw, all right, Babylon out. Okay. And combating that, all right, will be the kings of the north, or the Medes. Okay. This is Jeremiah 51 and 48. All right. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, and spoil shall come unto her from the north, said the Lord. Okay. So the north is speaking, all right, of Russia. Okay. Russia is going to be used by the Most High to gather many nations with her, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, as we're going to show you, okay, to this very moment. All right. Also, prophetically, Gog, all right, is known as the Medes. Russia is known as the Medes because when you look at the ancient, all right, or the USSR, when it's before it disbanded, they ruled, all right, in this region where the ancient Medes ruled, who are Japhetic, all right, the Medo-Persian Empire, okay. Isaiah 13:7, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. And what you're seeing in the form of bricks, all right, is Russia, Iran, Brazil, and different countries coming together to get around the dollar. Okay. So the Lord is stirring up the Russians against Babylon the Great. Okay. Jeremiah 51, all right, and 11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his device against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord. All right. Verse 28 in that same chapter, prepare against her the nation with the king of the Medes and the captains thereof and all the rulers thereof. All right. And all the land of his dominion. So ultimately, Russia and a company of nations are going to band together, all right, and lead a rebellion against Israel, which is going to lead to America getting involved, all right, and all out war breaks out. And this is what Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, taps into. The least of the flock, all right, being the state of Israel, all right, being attacked, a future invasion of Israel. Now, from what these individuals are saying, this is going to happen. All right. Now, I know for sure IUIC is saying this chapter, Ezekiel 38, happens after, all right, we're already delivered and brought back to the land. And what they use is Revelation, the 20th chapter. Let's get that real quick. Okay, which we went over it, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Give me 1 second here. All right, Revelation, the 20th chapter. Okay, Revelation chapter 20. And we know you read this from verse 1 to 3, speaking of the dark ages. Then you jump from 7 to the end of the chapter. Verse 4 through 6 is speaking of an 1,000-year period once the kingdom is established. This particular 1,000-year period, which is tied to Ezekiel 38 and 39, Revelation 20 and 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, leading into from the dark ages to the Renaissance period, where Rome was reborn into the earth, okay, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Okay, the children of Satan, the biblical Edomites, okay, coming out of that 1,000 years of, captivity where they were downtrodden, cavemen, through, looked down upon, chased away. Okay, they weren't the end thing. All right, Jake was ruling for 1,000 years. Okay, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. Now, how can this be after Yahushua and his men rule for 1,000 years? Why would heathen nations, in particular the Edomites, be able to go out to the four corners of the earth and rule, all right, and lie again? No. See, this is why it's best to just listen to the apostles and elders, because these camps will have you confused. See? Now, Hassad acknowledged that this is speaking of after the dark ages. He's just confused. He's just a little bit all over the place. And in his mind, the apostles and elders can't tell him nothing. All right. They're old. And, basically he then went and followed, all right, a bunch of misfits, a bunch of badass kids who know a little scriptures, but have been puffed up and left to their own devices and changed all of the breakdowns for the most part. I mean, they still teach some truth, but they change all of these particular breakdowns. And now look where they're at, arguing about some damn Russia ruling before the kingdom and after the kingdom attacking the land of Israel when we're there dwelling safely? No. See? No. After 1,000 years in the kingdom, okay, which the kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom, no nations are going to be raised up against us. This is speaking of what's happening now. Okay, after the 1,000-year period, which leads to the Renaissance, Satan, the children of Satan, would be loosed out of their prison and shall go out to deceive the nations. All right, this would happen through what? Out of Italy, out of the Spanish, the French, okay, the British, which established America. Then you have the Amalekites. All they've done is went through the planet Earth, all right, spreading deception, starting false flags wars, stealing resources, and being the devil, which is going to lead, all right, to Gog and Magog, all right, Gog of the land of Magog, or of the land of Gog, okay, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So all of Esau's ill dealings will lead to the point where Russia will lead a rebellion, okay, against the Amalekites and against the West. And we see that happening now. Bishop Nathaniel is teaching that this is going to happen after 1,000 years of Yahushua and the 144 ruling. No. Okay? So again, this is speaking of what's leading up to the end of Esau's world. Gog is going to be used, Russia is going to be used as a priority nation to gather other nations together, even nations that are within the beast system, to turn on America. But Israel, the least of the flock, is going to be what? Used, all right, to draw out these many nations to war. And right now, as Israel is bombing and destroying, they're telling the West, you are going to have to help us. As a matter of fact, let's pull up an article real quick. See if we can pull up an article here. Let's go to the peoplesvoice.tv, right? And let's see if we can find that article. All right. And pretty much we always do videos going into these end time prophecies. So you should be caught up and very well understanding what Russia has been doing and how Russia is being used to gather together many of these different nations. Boy, this site be on that jab, boy. Oh, man. In the Edomite power structure as a whole is in a conundrum. They threw, okay, but of course the internet is acting up. Maybe I'll get a new computer, all right, but maybe we won't need all of this computers. Maybe ultimately the next glory will come, all right. But oh yeah, we see that grid outage, but give me 1 second here. Let me pull it up. I just had it up, so it should be here. Where Israel, Netanyahu warns there is nowhere that the long arm of Israel will not reach, meaning that they're in a state of war, conquering, being the devil, okay, taking land, forwarding the colonization, all right, of this beast, okay, just being the devil, okay. AIPAC orders Americans to be loyal to Israel, all right, as Israel bombs Yemen. So again, as Israel continues to do all of these, destroying these particular nations and waging war, all right, they're backed by America. They're backed in some ways by the British. They're backed, okay, to where they feel as though they're justified in doing all of these various different things because all they have to do is call on America, okay? But America is being what? Called to be loyal to Israel. And as all of these wars break out, eventually Russia's going to get involved, okay? And Russia and these different nations are going to shoot missiles on the land of Israel, drawing America in, all right, and World War III will break out. So when you get Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, all right, I'm just going to read through some of them. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just get particular points. It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, okay, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, the region of Armenia, Turkey, all right, which Turkey is going to be used, okay, as well. All right, they're going to side with Russia. All right, that's in the book of Jeremiah as well. All right, Arawat. Let's see if we can look that up. It may be in Jeremiah 51. Okay, maybe it's in Jeremiah 50. Okay, that's Jeremiah 51. 50 and 20. Yeah. Right here. Jeremiah 51 and 27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together the kingdoms of Arawat, which is Turkey, Mini, Armenia, Ashkenaz, Germany, okay? Appoint a captain against her, and the captain is going to be, all right, Russia. Calls her horses to come out as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes. So Russia, okay, is going to be used by the Most High to gather these different nations, okay? And all you have to do is go to the internet and you can find articles on how Russia is against the West, leading a rebellion against the West, okay? Iran, okay? Now, going back to Ezekiel 38, all right, thus said the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, all right, but I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, symbolizing he will be in a wild state, okay? And when you get Revelation 13, right, all right, Revelation, the 13th chapter. Revelation 13, speaking of this beast system, all right, it says, in the beast which I saw was like unto the leopard, because it started with the Greeks, and the feet were as the feet of a bear, okay? The feet of a bear represents Russia, who's going to what? End, all right, this whole system. Now, the Lord is going to use them, okay? And this word bear, okay, is arctos. Arctos, a bear. When you go to the root word, archeo, to be possessed of unfailing strength, which Russia is. They have their military might is off the chain. Their navy is off the chain. As Babylon is being weakened, as the beast system is being divided, Russia is becoming, all right, a powerhouse, okay? To be strong, to suffice, to be enough to defend. And who are they going to defend? They're going to defend all of these different nations, all right? A lot of these African nations as well, all right, from what happened to them, from following after the beast and being destroyed, raped, robbed, and murdered. A lot of these countries are turning unto Russia, all right? So Russia is going to be used for a very, very important piece of prophecy, you see? But it's steps to how this is going to go down. All right. Now, as the scriptures say, we know in part and prophesy in part. All right. We're going to have to see it come to pass. All right. In order to know fully of which step, when this step and that step. But we do know once we return to the land, ain't going to be no rebellion against us once we're peaceably in our land with new bodies. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, and all of these differences of doctrines and breakdowns are coming out of nowhere. Anyway, all right. So the Lord is going to turn, all right, Russia back, put it back in that old Soviet spirit, because NATO was created to combat the USSR, which eventually disbanded. We deal with the Cold War and all of that, which the Cold War never ended. There's still friction between the West and Russia. All right. But we're just living in a time where the NATO and the EU and all of these, this beast system is breaking up, and Russia is becoming a powerhouse. All right. They're not ruling the world. All right. They're just being used by the Most High. It says, and to put hooks in thy jaws and bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So for IUIC, if this is after we've ruled on the earth in Yahweh's kingdom for 1,000 years, how are these heathen going to have these weapons when, pursuant to the scriptures, the Lord is going to end all wars? He maketh wars to cease in the earth, pursuant to what the scriptures say. Okay? He's going to disarm all of these nations. They're going to burn all of these weapons. Okay? The book of Psalms. Okay, he maketh wars. Let's see. Psalms 46:9. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot with fire. All right. It tells you, of course, we already know the scripture. Nations shall not lift up war against, they shall not learn war anymore. All right. And the rulership of the 1,000 years is to establish order in the earth. The 1,000 years with Yahweh and his men ruling, all right, is the first 1,000 years restoring order to the earth. There will be no nation attacking us from that point. No nation will come up against us, man. We will have the new bodies. We'll know what they're thinking. We'll know where they're at. We can be able to read things. We'll be able to send plagues. We'll have complete power. Why would we allow a war to come that's going to lead to the land of Israel being destroyed after we've ruled there for 1,000 years and set up order? The purpose of going back to the land is to clean it up and set New Jerusalem back up. And the starting at Jerusalem, which is the garden eastward in Eden, under the second Adam. Anyway, all of these particular nations are going to have armor with them. And you see Russia is what? Along with Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia. All you have to do is look up, all right, Russia-Ethiopia ties. As Russia is training up their military, they've allowed Ethiopia to build embassies in their land. They built embassies in Ethiopia's land. They're all linked. It says in Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar and the north quarters, all his bands and many people with him. Okay. Turkey, these different nations, Germany, all of these various different nations are going to side with Russia. Be thou prepared for thyself, thou and the company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So Russia is going to be a guard to these various many nations, man. And as you can see, many nations are coming up under the branch of Russia. Okay. Now, this is where everybody gets confused. And this is what the Apostle Tahar broke down in his video. So I'm going to just skim through some of the points, but watch this video to get, the full breakdown. Okay. I'm just going to skim through some points to let you know this can't be talking about after us going back to the land. Because when we return back to the land, we're going to dwell safely. Let's get Jeremiah 20. As a matter of fact, let's read through a little bit of this and then we'll get Jeremiah 23. And after many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years, which is now. And thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, the land of Israel. Okay, which is going to lead also to the land of America. All right. But in the land of Israel, all right, it's been brought back from the sword. Okay. And is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste. Okay. And meaning brought back from the sword, meaning it hasn't been fully destroyed as prophecy said it will. Because pursuant to this chapter in Ezekiel 39, eventually missiles are going to be shot on the land of Israel. And it's going to be decimated. See? And it's always been waste because these heathen are over there. All right. As the scripture saying, a land of uprightness, they shall not learn righteousness. All right. Now let's read this in the NLT. Okay. It says a long time from now, you will be called into action, and Russia is going to be called into action in the distant future, all right, from the time he received this vision till now, you will swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from a war. Okay, now right now Israel is at war, all right, and destroying, all right, and taking the territories of these nations, breaking, all right, covenants that they made with these nations that, you know, you can have this part of the land. They're going and waging war on these lands because they have a future and a plan with that land to do their wickedness, man, as a part of their NWO. But the Lord is going to use Russia and these different nations to swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from a war. All right. And after its people have returned from many lands, all right, to the mountains of Israel. And when you deal with how the state of Israel was established, it was established, all right, ultimately, all right, when you deal with the first Aliyah, okay, they've been gathering people from, starting at, Germany, Poland, and different places to go back to the land, all right, because they're the devil, okay? This ain't a fulfillment of the true Israelites going back to that land, all right? Let's deal with, let's just look up the first Aliyah. They had the second Aliyah. Before 1948, they had already been bringing, all right, Edomites and to that land, okay? The first Aliyah, known as the agricultural Aliyah, was a major wave of Jewish immigration to Ottoman Palestine between 1881 and 1903. The Jewish who migrated in this wave came mostly from Eastern Europe and from Yemen simultaneously, all right, by pogromos and violence against the Jewish communities in those areas. An estimated 25,000, all right, Jews immigrated, right? And you had different Aliyahs, right? The first Aliyah, the second Aliyah, all right? Aliyah means ascent, as you can see here, and it's basically dealing with an immigration of the dispersed, all right, Jews, what they saying, all right? So they had been gathering, small hats to this land before 1948, but eventually in 1948 they established the Zionist, all right, state of Israel, which again, that was not a fulfillment of the Israelites returning to that land, because the very night, okay, they established the state of Israel, there was a war in the land, okay? May 15, 1948, I believe. It was a war. Okay? When the state of Israel was established, that night they had a war. All right? Which, when the true Israelites return to that land, ain't going to be no more war. All of these things we're reading, okay, the Arab-Israeli war. Okay, that happened on, so here it is. The Jews return to that land, as they say, and then a war breaks out. This is how you know that ain't the true Israelites. All of these wars that we read about are going to be taking place before, all right, we're beamed up and brought back to the land. Let's go back to Ezekiel 38, okay? So right now we see Israel is involved in many wars against the Palestinians, okay? Give me 1 second. Now they're in Yemen. Okay, they're doing their thing, all right? And they're getting support from the likes of Vocab Malone. Okay, they're getting support, but a lot of people are also calling them out. They're being found out to be warmongers. Anyway, so let's see here. So let's read this again in the NLT, Salakia. Ezekiel 38 and 8, okay, after many days you will be called to arms. In the future years you will invade a land, all right, that has recovered from war, okay, whose people were gathered from many nations to the mountain of Israel. This is the state of Israel, which had long been desolate, okay, because they ain't the people. They had been brought out of the nations, and now all of them live in safety, okay? And from the time that they've established the state of Israel, I mean, there's been wars, all right, but they've been protected. They received billions of dollars in aid, okay? Pretty much chilling, all right? Welfare babies, it says, and what Russia is going to do with these different nations that are gathered into them. Because remember, it's not just Russia. It's Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Gomer, Togomar. All right. These different nations, all right, are going to be used, okay, to help Russia. Okay. So they're going to have a lot of might. Okay. They're going to have a lot of power. Now, I guess this is what they're saying is Russia's rulership. It's not a rulership. The final ruler is the revival of the fourth beast. Okay? Russia is just going to be used to help break it all up. Okay? And then eventually wage war, man. It says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, and thou shalt be like a cloud over the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. So if this is in our kingdom, after the 1,000-year period, you mean to tell me, because when we return to our land, let's get Jeremiah 60, or let's get Isaiah 60. All right. And 15. Let's see here. All these nations are going to be bowing themselves to us, man. It says, Isaiah 60 and 15, whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency. Okay. I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt suck the milk of the Gentiles, meaning we're going to have all of their riches, and shall suck the breast of kings. We're going to be nourished. They're going to, minister unto us. Okay. All of their riches, they're going to have to give to us. They're going to have to follow our ways. And thou shalt know that I'm Yahweh, all right, the Savior and the Redeemer of the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring gold, for iron I will bring silver, for wood, brass, and for stones of iron I will make thy officers peace, and thy exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders. Thou shalt call thy walls salvation. See? So there's going to be nothing but peace in the land of Israel. There's not going to be any destruction or war in the land of Israel once we return back to that land and clean it up. Okay, as a matter of fact, was that Jeremiah 23? Around the 4th verse. And we'll get back to that revelation, but again, we're going into what's leading to the point where there's world war. These are the events prophetically that will be taking place on the planet Earth. Okay. Give me 1 second here. All right. 1 second. Goodness gracious. And this computer I brought, it was brand new, and it's been acting like this since I got it, but I guess it's just a part of my hell. What I'll do is just get another one, man. Jeremiah 23 and 3, and I will gather the remnant out of my flock out of all nations, whither I have driven them, and I will bring them again to their fold, the land of Israel, the promised land, starting at Jerusalem, and they shall be fruitful and increase. All right. I will set shepherds over them. Okay. The leadership under Yahweh Shai, the 12 disciples, the 144. It says over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, said the Lord. Okay. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, Yahweh Shai. Give me 1 second. All right. Salakia. All right, Salaki, I'm just trying to do something real quick. It says, and a king shall reign and prosper and shall execute judgment. That's the purpose of us returning to that land. Okay? In that days, Judah shall be saved and Israel shall dwell safely. All right? And this is the name whereon he shall be called Yahweh our righteousness. Okay? Let's see if we can get a precept to this. So we're going to dwell safely. Okay? We're going to dwell safely. See if there's any precepts to that safely part. Okay? Goodness gracious. Hey, but call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, we're at the end of this nightmare of a captivity. You heard? All right. Give me 1 second here. If it takes too long, we'll just go on with the lesson. But the bottom line is when we get back into our land, there will not be an assault or an attack on us or our land by any nations, man. The scriptures say in Isaiah, the 4th chapter, there's going to be chariots hovering, all right, over all of our dwelling places. Okay? We're going to have spiritual capability. The scriptures tell you the house of David shall be as the Alahayim. We're going to have spiritual bodies, spiritual capabilities. None of these heathen will be any match. Okay? We're going to dwell safely. See what it says here. See if there's any precept. Yeah, covenant of peace. All right, Ezekiel 37 and 35, and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And see, people get messed up with that first 1,000 year period. All right, in Revelation 20, all right, 4 through 6, because that's talking about, again, this earth is in disarray. It's going to be all messed up. It's going to take, all right, a period of time once we come down and gather up the heathen, all right, give them their assignments to clean the earth up. There's a lot that has to be fixed in the earth. The Lord ain't just going to snap his finger and make everything back right. He's going to what? Give his men under Yahweh Shai the ability to establish that order in the earth. Okay? And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be prince with them forever. So again, after 1,000 years, Yahweh Shai, David, in their proper order. Okay, the heathen are going to come after us. It says here, moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. All right, it shall be an everlasting covenant. And I will place them and multiply them and set my sanctuary in the midst of them. All right, my tabernacle shall also be with them, because he's going to dwell in us through the Holy Spirit. And the heathen, verse 28, shall know that I am Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when I set my sanctuary, all right, in the midst of them forevermore. He's going to dwell with us. See? So we're going to be in peace. Ain't going to be no more war waged on us from this point. Okay? Let's see here. Yep, Ezekiel 34 kind of goes into it. And they shall no more be a prey unto the heathen. Ezekiel 34 and 28. Okay. Neither shall the beast of the land devour them. So it's going to be peace when we return to that land. All right. The scriptures talks about in Zechariah, the 8th chapter, right? That when we return to that land, little boys and little girls are going to be running through the streets. So all of that is going to be interrupted by Russia and these different nations after 1,000 years to try to come up against us. All right. And another war breaks out. That's not true. Okay. And IUIC is actually teaching this, but Sakar, this is all their breakdowns. This is what they're alluding to. All because the spirit ain't with them as they go into the scriptures. Okay? Zechariah chapter 8, all right, and 3. Thus said the Lord, I am returned unto Zion and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and the mountain of Yahweh, all right, the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus said the Lord of hosts, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for very age. All right. According to how long you've been on the earth, you'll have a staff. All right. According to your rank, it says, and the streets in the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the street thereof. Okay. Thus said the Lord, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of his people, should it also not be marvelous in mine eyes, said Yahweh, the Lord of hosts? Thus said the Lord, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, and bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. So, how in the hell is Ezekiel 38th chapter, as we're reading this, going into, okay, after we've ruled for 1,000 years under Yahweh Shai? So the children go have to, you'll hear your children outside, okay, like on the Planet of the Apes, when the other apes come and invade, you know, they enjoying having fun, and then all of a sudden, okay, war breaks out. No. Ezekiel 38 and 11, and thou shalt say, all right, let's start at 10. Thus said the Lord God, it shall also come to pass that at that same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Speaking of Russia and these different nations with them, and thou shalt say, I will go up, all right, to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all right, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither gates nor bars. How is this speaking of us in the kingdom? Okay, this is speaking of now. Okay, because as these wars break up, different alliances are going to break up. Okay, different nations are going to be drawn out to war. But the Lord's determination is that the land of Israel is decimated by war. Okay, to take a spoil and to take a prey. Let's read this in the NLT. So they're going to take a spoil and a prey from us while we're in spiritual bodies? Come on, man. Again, this is why you dudes just need to be quiet, man, and just go on about your business and do your debates. Okay, because you don't got it. Okay, and IUIC, y'all are a well-kept monument of failure. Y'all are all over the place with y'all breakdowns. And we're going to continue to rebuke you guys. NLT, I will go to those formerly desolate cities that are now filled with people who have returned from exile in many nations, and that's the state of Israel. All right. It says, and I will capture vast amounts of plunder for the people who are rich with livestock and other possessions. All right. They think the whole world revolves around them. See, and this is the mindset of those small hats. They think the everything revolves around them. Help Israel. You can't talk about them. They got laws passed with, you know, the anti-Sim thing. Okay. So how is this going to happen to us when we in our land? Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all the young lions thereof shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey? To carry away silver and gold? To take away cattle and goods and a great spoil? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus said the Lord God, in that day when my people Israel dwell safely, shall thou not know it? And this ain't talking about when we are in the land. Okay, the house of David is back together. Okay, this is speaking of now. And you have some of our people who are in the land right now of Israel, Ben-Ami and his group. Okay. And ultimately, they're over there. Some of them are going to be delivered. Okay. But there's going to be a great assault against this land. And thou shalt come out of thy place, out of the north parts. All right. Russia, thou and many people with thee. See, out of the north part, all of them riding upon horses with a great company and a mighty army, meaning their military might. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. All right. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land. So he's going to bring them against the land. This is all associated with wars and things that are going to be happening before the end, before that great destruction. See, what they're saying is after Babylon the Great is destroyed and we're beamed up, this is all going to be taking place. No. Okay? So here it is. We're going to be at peace in our land, new bodies, chilling, and Russia and Iran and all of these different nations are going to wage an assault against us. No, this is speaking of what's happening now. You just see it says my people and you know, the land, because that is our land. Okay? But ultimately, only some of us are in that land right now. When we return to that land as all 12 tribes, it's to set up order and establish peace in the earth. Okay? And I will bring thee against my land that the heathen may know me when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before thy eyes. So the Lord is going to use Russia to do a great destruction, man. Thus said the Lord, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old times by my servants, the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days of many years that I would bring thee against them? And many prophets prophesied of this day. All right. Isaiah, Jeremiah, we know for sure, in code word. All right. Prophesied of, you know, Russia, the North, the Medes, all right, as they're code worded, all right, that are going to be used for this great day, all right. And it shall come to pass at that time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord, that my fury shall come up in my face, okay. So around this time is when the Lord is going to allow all hell and chaos to break forth in the form of Armageddon eventually. For in my jealousy and in my fire and in my wrath have I spoken, surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Okay, ain't no great shaking coming after we're there for 1,000 years ruling in safety. King David, no. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake in my presence. So again, Russia attacking the land of Israel will lead to world war, all right, around the earth. Okay? And shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, all right, and every wall shall fall to the ground. This ain't gonna happen when we're in the land. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord, and every man's sword shall be against his brother. It's going to be war worldwide. But it's going to happen after these events. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands, upon the many people that are with him, all right, and hovering rain of great hailstones, fire and brimstone. Because remember, after this war breaks out, all of these nations are going to eventually try to fight against the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Because the destruction of the land of Israel will lead to world war breaking out, Babylon getting involved, these nations shooting missiles on Babylon, these nations eventually try to fight Yahweh Shai, and they're all going to lose. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall all know that I am the Lord. So this leads up. All right. This all leads to, you know, World War III. All right. And even when you read in the next chapter, it talks about, all right, that a fire is even going to be sent upon the Russians. All right. And eventually it's going to be, you know, destruction. All right. And eventually we're going to dwell in safety and put these nations in captivities, making them bury weapons, bury bodies. As it talks about, they're going to be in continual employment. All right, but we'll get to that, Ezekiel 39 and another one. Let's go back to Revelation 6. All right, as we see here, that great destruction, all right, that takes place of Babylon the Great. Okay, and all of these nations, you know, coming up against the Lord, and all of the kings of the earth, they're going to scurry into those bunkers. The elites, Okay. And his return marks the very end of all heathen authority and rulership. All right. Now, the heaven departing as a scroll, when it is rolled together, and every mountain and every island being moved out of their places, is going into the destruction that's going to happen to Babylon the Great. And this is actually a precept to what's written in Isaiah, all right, the 34th chapter. Okay. Let's read verse 13 as well. Revelation 6 and 13. And the stars of heaven fell down unto the earth. All right. Satan cast down, his rulership taken away, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. All right. Satan's going to fall fast. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and every island, all right, were moved out of their places. Now, this is ultimately the same thing that Isaiah foretold in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, right? Let's get that. Where the Most High is going to bring wrath on all of these nations. This is what he's gathering them together for war for, okay? Isaiah 34:1, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all the things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. This is what's going to happen to the armies of these heathen, all right? Her slain, all right, including Russia, right? Including Russia, all right? The Lord is still against Russia. He's just going to use them for a very, very important, all right, part and prophecy to lead a rebellion against the West, okay? To lead a rebellion against the land of Israel, those Amalekites over there. That's what Russia is going to be used for. But in the grand scheme of things, Russia is also an enemy of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and they will be partaking in the war, okay, against Yahushai as he returns. And missiles are also going to be shot, all right, on the land of, all right, Russia. Okay, it's going to be a bloodbath. Okay, so he have delivered them to the slaughter. Verse 3 says, and their slain shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. It's going to be a bloodbath. And the host of heaven shall be dissolved. All right. And the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine. Okay. And as a felling fig from a fig tree. Their armies, you know, the war in heaven, they're going to lose. Okay. Because during this time, as these nations are fighting against each other, all right, Yahweh Shai is going to return. All right. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So this ultimately is all happening to end the rule of Esau Edom. Okay. So his sword is going to be bathed in heaven. It's going to come down upon Idumea against the people of my curse to judgment. All right. In the beginning of that, all right, destruction. All right. Ultimately, we know the land of Israel and Babylon the Great are going to be decimated. Now, the land of Israel will be rebuilt, but Babylon the Great is going to be through. Okay. And it will be a memorial for what happens to a nation that rebels against the Most High and his only begotten Son and the holy people. NLT, and when my sword has finished its works in the heavens, it will fall on Edom. Okay. The nation I have marked for destruction. See? For the sword is filled with blood, and it is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys of rams. And for the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, which is America. All right. And when you read it, Isaiah 34:8, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance, the year of the recompenses of the controversy of Zion. Okay. It says, for it is the day of the Lord's revenge, the year when Edom will be paid back for all it did to Israel. You see? Now, again, as this war is going on, okay, and as ultimately, as you keep reading, it says, and the streams thereof shall be turned to a pitch, and the dust into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become a burning pitch. What land? America. It shall not be quenched day nor night. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. And this is speaking of what's coming to Babylon the Great. Okay? Point blank, period. You see? But upon this destruction of Babylon, there's going to be a war that these nations are going to have together as they've been gathered for war. Okay, now we know, pursuant to 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, as this war is going on, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 13, all right, and I'll start at 29. Start at 28. It says, and this is in a GNT, it says, and you saw that without the use of a spear or any other weapon, he destroyed the great crowd that was advancing to attack him. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's start at 25. All right. It says, this is the meaning of the vision, which he saw a vision of a great mountain, which is the chariot where the Lord is going to return to deliver his people. All right. And also shoot down fire beams as war is going on these heathen. It says, the man you saw coming up out of the sea, all right, which is Yahweh Shai. All right, the heavens are also known as the Shemayim, the waters, okay, represents the one whom the Most High has kept ready for many ages. He will free the world he created and establish a new order for those who survive, which are the Israelites, the elect, okay? You saw the wind, the fire, and the storm going out of the man's mouth, which is out of the chariots. There's going to be fire, all right, being ultimately shot forth, as it talks about in the book of Habakkuk. Okay, let's get that in the book of Habakkuk real quick. Give me 1 second. It talks about the beams coming out of his, I forget how it's worded. Let me not butcher it. Let's just go to it. The book of Habakkuk chapter 3, right? Give me 1 second here. The book of Habakkuk chapter 3. Is it? Yep. In 4, it says, and his brightness was as the light, and he had horns coming out of his hands, and there was the hiding of his power. And that's the chariot. Okay? And this is the chariots of salvation, as it talks about, all right, in verse 8, is how he's going to deliver his people. But at the same time, he's going to be waging war on the heathen nations. Okay? Verse 12, you did march through the land in indignation, and thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even the salvation of thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the neck, Selah. All right. And Babylon's going to be destroyed. We know before that, Israel's going to be, that land is going to be attacked. Okay. But as you can see here, the fire is going to be coming out of the chariots. All right. Down on the people. As you can see here, it says here, fire coming out of his mouth. It's described in many ways in different visions. It says, and you saw without the use of a spear or any other weapon, he destroyed the great crowd that was advancing to attack him. All right. This means that the time is near when the Most High God will begin to free the people on the earth. All right. The Israelites. All right. At that time, everyone will be close to panic. The scriptures say all of the nations are going to tremble at the coming of Yahweh Shai. You see? Now, at one point, basically, these guys are saying that, well, after America's destroyed, there's going to be a short rulership, of the Russians. And then on another hand, they're saying, well, while Russia is gathering all of these nations to come up against Babylon, that will be their rulership. It's just really a way to oppose themselves. It's really not anything. It's much about nothing, as the apostles and bishops say. It's much to do with nothing. It is, but from it, we can just bring out edification. Ultimately, Russia is going to be used to wage war with many different nations against, all right, the land of Israel. And as we know, the least of the flock, Israel, is going to draw out America, and it's going to be world war. And all of these nations eventually are going to shoot missiles on Babylon the Great. And during that time, Yahweh Shah is going to return to deliver the elect. The righteous are going to be scarcely saved out of that destruction that's coming. All right. And we're going to be gathered from America. All right. And from the four quarters of the earth. One dude made the talking point that the elect are only going to be gathered from America, which is Jeremiah 16:16 tells us he's going to gather, all right, his elect from, all right, this new Egypt and from the lands where we were scattered. The main deliverance will be America, but he's also going to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. As a matter of fact, when you get Matthew 24, right? Let's get Matthew, the 24th chapter. Matthew 24:31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So he's gonna, the elect are gonna be gathered from all of these different nations. All right, but we know America, Babylon the Great, will be the main deliverance. All right, Jeremiah 16. And 14, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all of the lands whither he have driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Now, when you get Revelation 11, after we wake up, right? After we wake up, after that, we were in that dead state, Revelation 11:11, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, as ultimately we're going to wake up from that dead state from the 60s till now is that period. And they stood up on their feet, and great fear fell on them which saw them. We woke up to who we were, and this is what's happening now. All right, but from that point, it says, and they heard a great voice out of heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. So us ascending up into heaven in a cloud, all right, is the return of Yahweh Shai. The cloud represents the chariot, the chariots of salvation. Behold, he cometh with clouds, who maketh his clouds his chariots. It all goes together. Okay, the chariots of salvation are going to deliver us. But in the same hour, there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. The third woe being World War III, and in that, America is going to be destroyed, and there's going to be a great earthquake, all right, that shakes the whole entire planet Earth. Okay, now going back to 2nd Esdras, okay, 13 and 29 in the GNT. Okay, it says at this time, all right, there's going to be a lot of panic on the planet Earth. Okay, they will begin to make war against another, city against city, region against region, nation against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. World War III, the third woe. When that happens, the signs I told you about earlier will take place. And then I will reveal my son, whom you saw as a man, coming out of the sea. When they hear his voice, all right, as we're being beamed up, all the nations will leave their own territory, forget the wars with one another, and Russia's going to be a part of this, right? And come together in one great crowd, too large to count, as you saw in your dream. The nations will unite with the single purpose of warring against my son. But he will take his stand on the top of Mount Zion on that chariot, and the New Jerusalem will be seen by everyone. So they're going to behold us being beamed up. Okay? As it says here in Revelation 11 and 12, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Well, Esdras is forwarding that vision by saying, look, they're going to be making war with Yahushua, okay? And they're going to watch us, all right, get beamed up. But they're going to leave the war they have with each other, all right, and come, all right, to fight Yahushua. Okay? He will take his stand on the top of Mount Zion, and New Jerusalem will be seen by everyone, getting beamed up into the chariot. And it will be completed and fully built, just as your dream saw the mountain carved out, but not by human hands. It's going to be an angelic chariot. As Yahushua told these devils, I'm not going to meet you as a man. Okay? Then my son will condemn the assembled nations for their godlessness. Russia is a part of that. Okay? That is what the storm meant. He will confront them with the wicked plans they have made, the chip, transhumanism, okay, hacking human, doing all of the demonic stuff they're boasting and doing, man. Okay? And he's going to condemn the wicked plans they have made, okay, with the torments that they must endure. That is what the flames meant. Then he will easily destroy them by means of the law. That is what the fire meant. So he's going to destroy them, all right, with their by all of the wickedness that they've done. He's going to send fire. So at this time, we are going to be beamed up, right, into the chariot. So it's going to be all out chaos on the planet Earth, right? We're going to be beamed up into the chariot, okay? And pursuing to Revelation 6, the elites of all of these different, all right, countries who send their armies out to do his bidding, all right, as this destruction is going on, Revelation 16 and 14, and heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, okay, and all the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. That's those bunkers. They have underground cities. They have bunkers with hundreds of years worth of food. They're going to have technology. Okay, and ultimately, Russia ain't going to be ruling before Yahushua returns or after, but Russia will be a powerhouse as they are building their own version of the beast system. All right, but the rulers, all right, of this whole thing, all right, is ultimately the elites, the banking families. They're really the rulers. People like Putin, all right, and these different, presidents of these different countries, all right, ultimately, they're not the rulers. Let's get that, all right, out of the way, because the true rulers are going to scurry into those bunkers. See, the kings of the earth, these elites, some of them you know their names, some of them you don't. Okay, even the elites of Russia, right? You got to understand, people like Putin are small, all right, in the grand scheme of things. Okay? The elites of these different nations, okay, are going to be, all right, delivered from the destruction, okay? And they're going to scurry into the bunkers, the dens and the rocks of the earth, okay? That's why the Lord is allowing them to get all of these bunkers to themselves. And it's being talked about on a large scale. All right. The elites are building bunkers for themselves. You can just look it up. Right. Elites building bunkers. That's to fulfill this prophecy. And what are they going to say? And said to the mountains and to the rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For great is the day of his wrath. For the great day of his wrath is coming. Who shall be able to stand? So ain't gonna be no other rulership after this destruction. Now on the earth is gonna be what? A chaotic environment. America's gonna be destroyed. The different nations are gonna be in disarray. Okay, the economies are gonna be all messed up. The waters are going to be bitter. People are going to be dying from poison and toxic water, right? It talks about the wormwood, right? What's that in the book of Revelation? It talks about the wormwood. A star called wormwood. Was that in Revelation 8 maybe? See if we can pull that up. It's going to be a chaotic environment on the planet Earth, right? Revelation 8 and 11, and the name of the star is called wormwood, and the third part of the water became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And that's just going into the toxins that are going to be in the water because of the destruction and all of the chaotic things that are happening on the planet Earth. Is going to lead to pollution and poisons. Okay, and in certain parts of the earth are going to be on fire because of the war. All right, but again, the elites, along with their slaves and certain people are gonna survive it because they're gonna go into those bunkers. Now, where will we be while this is going on? Well, let's get Revelation, the 15th chapter. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's get 2nd Esdras. All right. Chapter 2 and 42. I, Ezra, saw an enormous crowd on Mount Zion, too many people to count. This is the 144,000 in a large multitude that are going to be saved on the chariot. They were all singing and praising the Lord. Standing in the middle of the crowd was a very tall young man, taller than any of the others. He was placing a crown on the head of each person, but he towered above them and was spellbound by sight. And I asked the angel, "Who are these, sir?" And he replied, "These are the people who have taken off their mortal robes and have put on immortal ones." All right, received the new bodies, the resurrection. They have confessed their faith in God. Now they are being given crowns and palms as symbols of their victory. And I asked, "Who was the young man who was putting crowns on their heads and giving them palms?" And he said, "This is the Son of God." And all these people confessed their faith in him while they lived on earth. Then I began to praise those who stood so stiffly and so bravely for the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So as we are on the chariot and all of these crazy things are taking place on earth, we're going to have a family reunion, a feast. We're going to be crowned. So who knows how long this is going to take place. Also, we can get Revelation 15. Revelation 15, right? Revelation, the 15th chapter, in the 2nd verse. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand up on the sea of glass, which is ultimately the chariot. From the chariot, we are going to be able to physically look down with our new bodies, our new eyes, at the destruction that's taking place on the earth. Okay? And these are they who got victory over the beast, his image, and his mark, and over the number of his name. See? And they had harps in their hand, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of the Most High, and the song of the Lamb, saying, "Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of the saints." All right? "Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest." And this is ultimately what's going to happen when New Jerusalem comes down. Now, these are events that ultimately, as we showed you, is going to be war, all right, that are ultimately going to happen, all right, before and after we destroy it. Now, as we're on this chariot, rejoicing, singing, getting crowned on earth, all right, these particular kings and these different people that have survived, they're going to be in the bunkers. There's going to be certain people wiggling around still in certain parts of the earth. Okay. And You're also going to have particular Israelites that didn't get beamed up. Okay. And, the Lord, however he has it fit, is going to have us to purge those rebels out. All right. Those that ain't right. Maybe we'll have mercy on some, but we'll see how that takes place. All right. As it talks about us returning to the wilderness in Ezekiel, the, I believe, 20th chapter. But we're not going to get into that right now. What I want to go to here is Isaiah, the 24th chapter, right? Let's see here. Which is the judgment for all of the wickedness that they've done. All right. Let's just jump to the 18 verse. It says, and it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise shall of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do quake. Judgments, missiles, fire. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. See, they're going to survive. See, but you have to understand, as New Jerusalem, okay, is beamed up, eventually they come down. All right. And when New Jerusalem comes down, let's get that in Revelation 21. This is Revelation chapter 21 and 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of the Most High is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. So ultimately, this is the elect coming down from the chariots with new bodies, right? And what are we coming to do? We're coming to gather, all right, these heathen, all right, they're kings, okay, out of these particular bunkers they're in, and enslave their asses, okay? Isaiah 24 and 21, and it shall come to pass that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. It tells you the kings of the earth are going to go into those bunkers, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered together in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. All right. And after many days, they shall be visited. Now let's rewind. Okay. And nowhere does it say Gog or Russia is going to rule. So that's out of the question. But again, before all of this takes place, Revelation 19 and 19, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war with him that set up on a horse in his great army. So these nations, including Russia, all right, are going to leave the war they have with one another, all right, and they're going to be gathered together to make war with Yahweh Shai. Okay, now where Ezekiel, the 38th chapter takes place, all right, leads up, all right, to this. When you read Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, now the IUIC is telling you that Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, all right, comes after 1,000 years of us ruling in our kingdom. Meaning after 1,000 years, okay, the Russians, along with all of these different nations, are going to gather weapons together to fight against who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ and the holy people. That's wrong. Okay. Now, Hassad said that they can't speak for what IUIC is saying, but they're saying that after we're delivered and returned to the land, that the Russians are going to come up, take a spoil, and come up against us and then be destroyed.